Chapter 8 of Carmilla. We're right where we left off from the previous chapter. It's the middle of the night, and Carmilla is nowhere to be found. When daylight arrives, the entire chateau and all the grounds around it are searched. By the time noon passes, the Englishman's daughter is shocked to learn that Carmilla is in her room. Carmilla's explanation is vague, and the Englishman chalks it up to sleepwalking. In fact, he believes that Carmilla is looking quite well, much better than his daughter, whose name we finally learn.
The Englishman's daughter's name is Laura.
Our narrator's name is Laura.
Her name is Laura.
Her name is Laura.
She is called Laura.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura. The Englishman calls on the doctor so that he might examine Laura, and the doctor is visibly affected by her appearance. Between him, Laura, and her father, they examine a small blue spot at the base of her neck, of which, for the time being, she is not to worry about. But Laura is not to be left alone, and so it is that she is to travel with her father and Madame Perdon to see the local priest. He lives near the ruins of Karnstein, and it's along the way that they encounter General Spielsdorf. Chapter 10 introduces General Spielsdorf as someone who is troubled and very angry. He's in the process of traveling to the Karnstein tombs, and he talks of monsters and murderers. The Englishman expresses concern about the mental state of his good friend, because he seems to be talking crazy. But he also knows that his niece has died recently. The general understands all this and prepares to tell him the whole story. Why does Carmilla's explanation about her disappearance sound so flimsy? Because it is, that's why. It's an upgrade in what we've seen in her so far. First of all, it was odd that she was merely dropped off by her mother, but it's plausible that something like this could happen in real life. It's instantly jarring that she looks like the intruder who Laura saw as a child. And it's even stranger that Carmilla recounts a tale that is nearly identical to this experience. She's also very reticent about the details of her life, and she deflects Laura's questions by fondling her and murmuring rhapsodies into her ear. She sleeps far later than everyone. She doesn't pray. She has temper tantrums, and now she's vanishing and reappearing in the vein of a magician. At this point, Laura is starting to feel sickly, and so we have to ask, is there a connection? Is there something dangerous about Carmilla? Now that the Englishman's daughter has been given a name, her identity is more concrete. At 19 years old, she's well into the blossom of her youth, but she's been isolated living in a chateau in the woods without a mother. She's had friends come over to visit, and she gets out from time to time, but there's nothing to suggest anything romantic has ever occurred. Boys are largely absent from the narrative. Carmilla's questionable behavior makes her feel a strange, tumultuous excitement that was pleasurable, ever and anon, mingled with a vague sense of fear and disgust. Laura's feelings here express a reaction to affections that are unheard of, and the loss of her mother may bear a subconscious influence. To be sure, they are feelings that symbolize her departure from adolescence, drifting towards womanhood, and her name is Laura. When we encounter the general on his way to the tombs of Karnstein, he's railing against the hellish arts, and he expresses wonder that heaven should tolerate so monstrous an indulgence of the lust and malignity of hell. I mean to unearth some of those fine people, he says. I hope, by God's blessing, to accomplish a pious sacrilege here, which will relieve our earth of certain monsters and enable honest people to sleep in their beds without being assailed by murderers. What it sounds like is that he plans to exhume some bodies at a graveyard, and that takes our narrative in a radical turn. When we spoke of midnight stranglings and ghosts, it was the Englishman who stood as the voice of reason, attributing such thoughts to the fancies of a fever in connection with natural illness and epidemics. The general confounds this rationale with frank, straightforward speech in which he claims to have been made the dupe of a preternatural conspiracy. The general has become a stand-in for that which defends the unbelievable, paving the way for us as readers to think more deeply about what we believe in ourselves.